Welcome to the 700 Club. China is moving on all fronts to become the world's biggest superpower. One of its major economic goals, leading the way in digital currency.
Well, experts call this the future of money, and they believe these new digital currencies will eventually replace cash. But as Dale Hurd reports, China's new system also has a dark side.
China has begun trials of a new digital yuan, with the aim of becoming the first country in the world to offer a sovereign digital currency. This video explains it.
Unlike most other cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, which work outside the control of a central authority, the digital yuan will be the world's first that is state-owned, issued by the central bank. You can use digital yuan anywhere, since it works exactly like cash, except it's on your phone.
And it will be an international currency. Many in the financial world are looking forward to using a digital yuan in global trading.
So that is a new stage of the global trading settlement system. I believe the potential of that is going to be enormous.
Chinese officials say their new digital economy needs digital money, but it's already being seen as yet another way the Chinese government will be able to track its citizens. Unlike cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin that offer anonymity, the Chinese central bank will be able to monitor every transaction of the digital yuan. This in a country where citizens are already being monitored by hundreds of millions of facial recognition cameras and are given a social credit score and rewarded or punished according to their scores.
China is building what I think is a blueprint, a roadmap of persecution for other regimes around the world, and they're doing it with surveillance.
The new digital yuan is being sold to the Chinese public as convenient. But China expert Stephen Mosier, author of Bully of Asia, isn't buying it.
This is just another tool in the toolbox of the Chinese Communist Party. It's a way of raising the high-tech prison walls a little higher on the Chinese people. China will not only know where they go and who they talk to, they will know every penny that they spend.
And China is not alone. At least 12 nations are reportedly going into or are considering central bank digital currencies. Because physical money is largely untraceable, it's been called the last bastion of privacy. And that's probably a big reason the Chinese government wants to get rid of it. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Well, China wants to replace the dollar as the world's reserve currency, the world's trading currency, and this is one effort on their part to do just that. But the darker side of this is they'll know exactly what you're spending, where you're spending it, what you're spending it for. If you've ever wondered how we're going to have a government that will be able to determine who is able to buy and sell, well, digital currency is the way forward. That will be the thing, and it will be sold on the basis of convenience. It will be sold on the basis that it can't be counterfeited. And if you think China's the only one doing this, well, think again. Jerome Powell, who is the chairman of the Federal Reserve, he is saying the United States of America is actively looking into digital currency. To add to it, the EU is also going down this road, so the entire world is looking at digital currency. They'll sell it to us on the basis of, oh, look, it'll be so convenient. You just wave your phone in front of a device and you'll be able to pay for it. That will be the selling point, but with it goes all of your privacy. In other news, with just 4 days to go, President Trump and former Vice President Biden are visiting key battleground states, and both sides are gearing up for legal battles after the election. George Thomas has that story from the CBN Newsroom. George?
Thank you, Gordon. Hello, everyone. Yes, for the second day in a row, both presidential candidates are visiting the same state. Today, it's Minnesota, where each one will hold a rally this afternoon. Yesterday, both traveled to Florida, with Joe Biden again attacking the president's handling of the coronavirus, while also competing for the crucial Latino vote. Meanwhile, the president hailing the new report showing the massive economic growth in the third quarter. And with polls tightening in key states, both campaigns are gearing up, as Gordon mentioned, for possible legal challenges and complaints after the election. over recounts, mail-in votings, and other issues. Battles which could last for weeks. From the recent historical Middle East peace deals, the Abraham Accords, to the U.S. Embassy's move to Jerusalem, U.S. Ambassador to Israel, David Friedman, has seen historic changes over the past 4 years. Friedman sat down for an exclusive interview with CBN News about what could be on the horizon. Take a look.
Just days after the first commercial flight from the United Arab Emirates to Israel, Ambassador Friedman addressed the future of the Abraham Accords.
It seems to be coming to a crescendo. President Trump has said maybe 10 nations are in line. What's next, and who's next?
Well, you know, you can pull out a map and come up with some pretty good guesses as to who's next. I think all the regional players are in discussion. I don't want to speak for them or betray any confidences or their sensitivities, but the president is correct. There are 5 to 10 countries that are in active discussions with us. They have everything to gain by joining this circle of peace. They have nothing to lose.
Looking at the impact of the Abraham Accords on the region, what do you see in a year, 2, 5 years? What could change here in the region?
Look, I think we are at the beginning of the end of the Arab-Israeli conflict. You know, you have so many people that are already on board. It just, you know, the narrative, the old grievances kind of collapses on itself. And I think we're really at the beginning of a very hopeful period in the Middle East.
As an observant Jew, Ambassador Friedman often looks at the Middle East through the lens of the Bible.
The original Abraham Accords was the reconciliation between Isaac and Ishmael. You know, Isaac was the second son of Abraham. Ishmael was the first. They were rivals. And Isaac and Ishmael reconciled before Abraham passed away. And we're doing that again 3,500 years later. And I think that that's an appropriate Bible story, Bible lesson for today.
Former Vice President Biden and Senator Harris have said that if they're elected, they would renew the Iranian nuclear deal. What impact could that have on Israel and the region?
It will be a complete disaster. Iran is a very dangerous country. We have made Iran far less dangerous than they were 4 years ago. And they're pulling back. They will continue to pull back, I believe, if we keep the sanctions on. The worst thing we can do right now when we have them on the ropes is to let the pressure off.
When you look back on the last 4 years, what achievements do stand out to you?
You know, I think that moving the embassy to Jerusalem, right here, this is my office in our Jerusalem embassy, I think that was really the most important thing the president did, not just because you know, we all believe that Jerusalem's the capital of Israel. It's the message that the move sent to the world, that President Trump stands with his friends, stands on principle, keeps a promise, and it resonated throughout the world. And I believe that it set our foreign policy on the right track everywhere. It may seem counterintuitive to people, but you know, we believe this would lead to peace, and it did.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News at the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem.
Thank you, Chris. By the way, you can hear more from Ambassador Friedman on CBNnews.com, including what he says about Saudi Arabia's role in the Abraham Accords in the days ahead. The recent peace agreement between the former Soviet countries of Armenia and Azerbaijan has not held, as they are still fighting over the Nagorno-Karabakh region, which both sides, by the way, claim as their own. Chuck Holton brings us this first-hand look at the personal toll this fighting is taking.
If you want to know what a war crime looks like, this is it. This is an Azeri missile that landed on this hospital just today. This wing of the hospital was just about ready to open, and it's not near any military targets, so it's not like it was an accident. It is very clear the military of Azerbaijan is targeting civilian infrastructure.
Both sides accuse the other of atrocities in this conflict, but only Azerbaijan is trying to take land it doesn't control. The Armenians, on the other hand, see this as an existential threat.
They want occupy our territory and clean this territory from Armenians.
More than 99% of the people that live in this region are ethnic Armenians, and they make up one of the oldest Christian communities in the world.
We are here. That's our historical land. We want to live here, and we want to have our rights. We want to know our history. We want to have open churches. We want to pray.
I'm in the capital of the Nagorno-Karabakh region of Armenia called Artsakh, or this is the city of Stepanakert. Behind me you can see the effects of the Azeri bombardment that has been hitting this city since September 27th. Of the 150,000 people who live in this area, most of them have already had to flee, but there are still tens of thousands of people that are staying here, sleeping in their cellars, in their basements, and listening to the daily barrage of random artillery that's falling on this city.
On September 27, when we woke up, we heard the loud sounds of explosions. We saw the bursts, the smoke. We understood what's going on. And my dad told us to take all of our things and to go to his shop's underground cellar.
Meanwhile, President Erdogan of Turkey has sent military assets to help Azerbaijan as this conflict has become a power struggle between regional superpowers. Armenia has limited support from Russia, but the Armenian military is still outnumbered 5-1.
It's just after noon, and the air raid siren is going off in the distance. There have been just random artillery shells falling sort of all around this hotel. One just landed about a quarter mile that direction, and another one just a minute ago landed right over this way. But this is what the people of Stepanakert are having to deal with literally every day without warning. So you could be walking down the street, and if one of those shells lands anywhere near you, it's game over.
And as the violence continues to intensify, Armenians are vowing to fight to the bitter end and are putting their faith in God. From the Republic of Artsakh, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Thank you, Chuck. Gordon, by the way, Amnesty International reporting yesterday that the Armenians used cluster munitions. Amnesty International calling that move cruel and reckless.
Well, it's something I've said before, I'll say it again. All Christians everywhere should be concerned about what's happening in Armenia today. My prayer is they would quickly come to a ceasefire. But also, we need to recognize the area in dispute here is ethnically Armenian. And this is an international a right that you have the right of self-determination. You go back to our history, Woodrow Wilson, back at the League of Nations, created this concept in international law that people have the right of self-determination. So if you're ethnically Armenian, you have the right to be known as Armenia. There shouldn't be a conflict over this. The international community should really step up the pressure on both Turkey and Azerbaijan. Stop this fighting. Let the ethnic Armenians who are Christian, if they want to be with Armenia, let them be that way in peace. Let's also be aware of what's happening in Turkey, where Erdogan is actively trying to increase Turkey's influence. He wants to restore the Ottoman Empire. And keep in mind, 100 years ago, that included Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Jordan, and Israel. He wants it all, and he is flexing his muscle right now in Armenia. Another thing that happened a little bit more than 100 years ago is something the world chose to forget, and that's the Armenian Genocide that was done by the ethnic Turks, and they intentionally killed Armenians. It was ethnic cleansing on a huge scale. Let us never forget it. Turkey, to this day, wants to deny it ever happened. But here it is, right now, a war with Turkey participating, and it's all about ethnic cleansing. Listen to what that Archbishop told us. He says they want to take this territory and they want to cleanse it so that there aren't any Christian Armenians left. That's the goal. That's been happening there for a long time. And we need to say, never again should there ever be a genocide.